Hey, Dad.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
We are back for a live in person,
Yes, we are face to face.
face to face. And hello to our listening audience. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Discussions with Dad, Faith, Blood, and the In Between. And there's a lot of in between. So we'll get right into it. As always, our core promises even when we disagree, we will practice patience and love over certainty. We will tell the truth with care, and we will listen to understand, not convince, convert, or prove wrong. And, just to remind our listening audience, if it isn't completely clear that we're not experts on anything, we want to remind you that this podcast just reflects our personal opinions and our lived experiences. It's meant to spark conversation, not provide professional advice. And we encourage you all to seek guidance from qualified professionals if something we said triggered you, including the word trigger, which I know triggers my dad.
Yeah. And also, you might let our audience know that we are in the Colorado studio today.
That's what I said. We're live and in person. And I think the Texaco sign on the garage behind me lets the viewing audience know that we are definitely not in the Los Angeles recording studio. And for our listening audience, we are in what we would call my dad's, I don't know, man cave.
My toolbox is there.
My toolbox. We're not branding anything, right? Nothing, no camera, no brands on camera, Dad.
Could be.
We're going to sell this to the highest bidder.
Texaco's right there. There's not much you can do about that.
So a lot going on this week, but one of the things that I wanted to kind of spend some time with, the conversation that you and I had 2 episodes ago, which was at the beginning of July now, when we were talking about, when I came out and that conversation and everything, got a lot of great feedback from a lot of people listening. Thank you all for sharing your feedback, whether in person and or via some sort of social platform. And I think that the listening audience likes hearing our stories, and especially like to hear your perspective and especially growing up. So I decided to spend a little more time today, and I gave you the prompt, Dad. So to our listening audience, usually we have a theme and we try to stick to it, and I usually give my dad 1 or 2 different prompts. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And so that I can kind of catch you off guard, but not really. You know where the conversation's going.
You always catch me off guard.
How so? Expand on that.
Because sometimes the prompts you send me have nothing to do with what we end up talking about.
Well, they lead to what we end up talking about.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good lead in. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
it's what I think my mind's going to go in a certain place and it never goes there. Let's put it that way.
Well, when you try to control, this is something I learned a long time ago in an acting class. When you try to control how the scene is going to go, it's usually going to go the opposite way of the way you want it to. And that has to do with a lot of things. But I think hopefully the idea of conversation and prompting a conversation sparks a dialogue that we can actually get to the root of whatever the theme we would be talking about would be. I remember when we first started this podcast, you thought I was spending too much time on the Trump thing and not asking real questions. And I was like, well, I have to suss out, and the audience especially needs to know why someone who is so open-minded and seemingly
cool,
intelligent would vote for Trump.
Right. Right.
Do you want to start there?
No. Let's go back to our regular thing. I don't want to revisit that again.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't think our audience wants to hear that either.
Well, okay. So I guess I'll start with the question that I sent you as one of our kind of prompt guidelines, and that is, do you have to release the sun you imagined in order to see the sun standing in front of you? And you can take that at every or any entry point that you'd like. Like, I mean, you could go all the way back to
you gotta go back to birth.
Yeah, go back to birth.
Yeah, so because that's when you imagine your son.
Okay.
But you got to remember 2 things.
Okay.
Back when you were born, in 1978.
Yes.
We didn't know genders before they were born.
Right.
So I didn't know if you were going to be.
You didn't know until I came.
Until you came.
Really?
Right. You could have done ultrasound and known this,
but
and known that.
People didn't do that back then.
No, not very often.
No.
Yeah. So
They were
So
too busy smoking in their station wagon and
right, yeah, yeah, exactly.
whatever was
I
happening in
never smoked a day in my
1978.
life. You know that.
No, I know you didn't, but
Um, right. So uh, yeah. But I thought if I had okay, first of all,
okay.
if I had a son or a daughter, which I was blessed to have both, and then many more after that,
Hmm.
which is really cool. But to have, I always wanted a son first, then a daughter, so that she would have an older brother. So that worked out really cool.
Hmm.
Um, but the first thing you think about when you find out that you're going to have a son or a daughter, if you're going to have a baby, is all you want them to be is healthy.
Right,
That's it. When you're born, I hope he's healthy.
right,
I hope she's healthy.
right.
And then after you're born and you find out, oh, it's a little boy. Oh, that's way cool. And we had names picked out.
If it were a boy or a girl.
Yeah, yeah, but and your mom picked out Matthew, right?
Hmm.
And and Joseph Joseph was not picked out until 2 days before you were born, and my grandpa Joseph Schaefer died.
Right.
So then we made your middle name Joseph. That's how that came about. But
Cool.
anyway, what I imagined for you was not uh, in detail to the fact that this is this and this is this. All I wanted you to do is to be happy and have a good life. And I think, like we talked about before, your dad is probably the only man in your life that wants you to be better than him.
Well, if you're a good dad. I
Yeah,
think there are a lot of dads out there that don't want their son or daughter to be
and it could be that could be,
to
but
surpass them.
even some dads that aren't so good dads always want their son to be better than they are. So if I imagine anything, I imagine it you being better than me.
Well, what are 3 things that you did in, I wasn't planning on asking this question,
Oh
but
no.
what are 3 things that you did in the first 5 to 10 years of my life to ensure that I could be a better person, individual, contributor to society than you?
What 3 things I
Yeah, you said
did?
you said dads, most dads want their son to be better than they were. So
Right.
were there things that you did
Oh,
that
yeah, no, we got you into a good preschool
Mhm.
because we wanted you to be well educated, and you
Okay,
were.
so school was important,
School was very
education.
important. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What's another?
Um, Fed you and clothed you healthily.
So
That's important.
the things required by law, keep your kid alive by feeding them
No,
and
some and no, not just feeding you and keeping you alive, but making sure you had good food and good doctors and good stuff.
okay, so access to
Yeah,
quality.
yeah.
Access to quality.
Quality lifestyle.
Uh-huh, and what else?
Uh, Took you always to everywhere, but took you to grandmas and grandpas and exposed you to
So
your
family and
relative
friends
family and
influence.
yeah,
Community. I'm gonna say community.
yeah,
That's
family and community.
yeah. Yeah,
So
okay.
that would be 3 things that we did.
So, I have a lot of questions.
Spanked you when you needed it.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. I mean, yes, I definitely was spanked. Do you think that we've lost something in letting go of the idea that discipline can be something that is physical?
Yeah, a spank is different than a beating. Never a beating. Never,
Okay.
never. You
But
know,
a smack
a
on the butt.
swat on the butt. Matter of fact, I'll never forget. One time it was something dangerous. You kept doing it. Down, I can't remember if it was the wall furnace or something down at the apartment.
Okay.
And and I told you like a million times to quit doing it, and it was going to hurt you. You were going to get burnt,
Right.
or something was going to happen. I can't remember. I mean, it might have been a wall plug. I don't remember what it was. I just don't remember. But it could have hurt you.
Uh-huh.
And finally, I grabbed you. I said, Matt, no. And I went like this with my hand to swat your butt.
Uh-huh.
And Grandpa Schaefer, my dad, grabbed my hand, and he says, "Don't." He goes, "Look at the size of your hand." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Don't swat him with your hand." He says, "Get a little belt."
Oh, great.
I know, but in his own way, he didn't want me jarring you or hurting you, and I never hit you hard. I would be just like, "Pow,"
Yeah, to
pow.
shock.
Exactly,
Okay,
exactly. Yeah. So is that okay? Yeah, that's okay, but never out of anger.
right,
Never out of anger did I hit you ever out of anger.
right.
And grandpa never spanked, and I deserve way more spankings than you deserved.
Probably.
Oh,
I
no,
believe
no
this.
doubt about it, because I was much ornerier than you were, much you were way reserved. Let's use that word, reserved.
Okay. I'll take
I was not. I was, I broke both arms. I broke one arm by the time I was 5.
Did you, in regard to the way that you discipline, do you think that because I know how I feel about this, but do you think that you disciplined me different than you discipline and mom for that matter, do you think that you all disciplined me different than you disciplined Cherie, my
Yes, oh,
sister?
definitely.
Yeah, and I wonder why.
Because I could not spank Cherie. I could not
Because she
spank
was a
her.
little girl.
She was a little girl. I
And
couldn't.
so that's very,
I know.
it's,
I'm not saying it's right, I'm just telling you like it is, right? I'm just
okay,
being truthful here.
okay. So I wonder if that speaks to,
How she turned out.
well,
Yeah,
she definitely got away with a lot more than I did, and I definitely
to
got in
some
trouble
extent.
for
Yeah,
a lot of the things that she definitely did, but
right.
she's not really here to defend her name, but I think she would agree if she were still here that,
Oh, she
she got
definitely
away
would.
with a lot more than I did.
Oh, she did. Yeah.
So, what do you think has changed for boys from when I was, the early '80s to now? I mean, you know, in a way, we're all kind of co-parenting Kellen, but your granddaughter,
Mhm.
and she's, 15 going to be 16, so it's not quite the same comparison, but, could you imagine having a little boy now, raising a little boy in 21st century America? What do you think? Just what are the glaring differences?
Well, spanking, number 1.
Yeah,
You know,
the way we
the way
punish,
definitely. I mean,
right?
when I was growing up, if I was over Mabel Buffmax
Mhm.
and I said something, Mabel would spank my butt.
This is a family friend who was
Great family
very,
friend.
very
Love her
close with
dearly, yeah.
your mom and dad. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's still
I mean, and
true in certain communities.
the neighborhood had permission to spank you. But and I'm not, again, when we say spank, it's not beat them. It's just a little, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that there are,
But there was a lot of respect, you know, for adults back then. There's certain things you just never said and did.
so the glaring difference between raising a boy in 1980 America versus 2026 America would be that there's a lack of community support. There's a lack of all hands
There's
on
not
deck.
as much community support at all. And if you're talking about me being 69 years old and raising you again, if I'm 69 and you're a little kid,
Mhm,
I would raise you pretty much the same because I did so. But if you're talking about me being 20 and having a little kid nowadays, it would
mhm.
have to be different because there's just a lot of things that probably would the society would not agree with or go for, you know?
How do you think that that evolved and did you see it happening?
Well, I think that, I mean, some would say my generation was a lot softer on your generation than my dad's generation was on us.
I would agree with that. Still, I felt the brunt of the trickle down effect of
Right.
that kind of discipline and even the kind of structure and expectation. You said earlier that, there was more respect for elders. I mean, I think there
You
was just a
guys, you
general
and
respect.
Sheree were good at that though too. You were raised that you didn't treat people
Well, we didn't
bad.
have a choice because our grandparents, made it very clear that
Right.
if you didn't respect them, they wouldn't
I
they
guess
wouldn't
that's another thing.
support that.
In 1980, I think that, like we said, family. I mean, the support from Grandpa Smith and Grandma Smith, and support from my mom and dad was incredible.
Well,
You know,
that's what I'm curious about. We've talked about it in other episodes, and
involvement.
we've definitely talked about it in the underserviced communities across the country, and especially, in places in the South where, there are single moms raising 2 to 3 kids. I mean, it has to be much harder now.
It's gotta be way harder,
Right.
you know?
So
And I don't even wanna get into why it's a single mom, it doesn't matter. I don't there's a reason, obviously, but, God bless them, it's harder on them. It's way harder on them. I understand that. The absence of a dad in the home is gotta be terrible.
mhm.
To me, I couldn't imagine it. I couldn't imagine it, you know? You didn't really have to imagine it.
Well, no, but I definitely know what it feels like to have your parents go through a divorce, and
Right,
you definitely feel that
and that was bad enough.
there's a tension and unnecessary, uh there's a lot of unnecessary negotiating and, logistical things that you have to figure out. It's
Right,
you have to coordinate times. You have to even something as simple as Thanksgiving Day, for example, is like, well, do I choose to spend the day with my grandparents, my parents, my which side of my grandparents,
right.
which parent? And for whatever reason, that should be decided upon the adults, but it's hard when you have a 15 or 16-year-old. You want them to have some autonomy. It's kind of what we're going through with my niece and your granddaughter.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I'm sorry we put you through that. I
Well,
really
I appreciate that.
no, I do. I apologize for that because it was never the intention to be that way.
Oh, I don't think it was your intention, and I have had the conversation with mom, and it's not fair that she doesn't get to speak on camera when we have these conversations
Right.
sometimes, but I'll speak on her behalf in that
You can
I
call
know
in.
I maybe. Uh, we're getting to
You
the
call in.
guest portion of the podcast is coming this fall for sure. We have a lot of things
That'll
that
be
we
a treat. We
tabled.
gotta get your mom here.
Well, that would be interesting, but what I will say, it just in her defense, is I've had the conversation with her, and I don't think anyone sets out to disrupt or rip apart something that they once believed had promise. You know what I mean? When you and mom were together and you had me and Cherie, it wasn't your goal wasn't to get divorced and split up the family. That
Right.
wasn't, and so that's something.
But I don't think enough thought, and I'm just gonna put it out this way. I don't think enough thought is given to that situation to realize the damage it really does.
I think that that is probably true, and I think that it is much easier for 2 parties in general, whether they're married or not right now, to just walk away from something rather than
Oh, yeah.
look at a resolve, which is why this podcast is happening. I mean, I have friends who have listened to the podcast who really love it, and then I have friends who think, "Oh, well, you're not challenging your dad, and you're not pushing back here and there and the other," and that's all fine, and maybe they're right. The point isn't really to challenge you for the sake of challenge. The point is to reach some sort of
Right.
understanding that we all in this country have an opportunity to live the life we wanna live, truly, as long as you're not alienating someone else's or infringing on someone else's life. You should be able to kind of go along in this country and do what you want, and for whatever reason, we are not there anymore.
No.
And I'm sure that it has a lot to do with the way we the way that we as a community uplift and support the family, whether it's a mom and a dad, or a dad and a dad, or a mom and a mom, or a single mom or a single dad. Whether we think it's right or not, this is what's out there, and how do we help? And for that matter, there are many grandparents raising their grandchildren,
Lots more.
in my own immediate family. So I think rather than looking at why something is the way that it is, what if we just turned the attention on how can we be there, or how do we show up where we're at?
Well,
That
I think that's the key. Um, the key is to show up no matter where you're at and what position you're in life or what's going on. There's a lot of times just your presence is more important than anything. And I think a lot of people forget that just being with you guys did lots with us all the time.
right.
You were always with us. And same thing with Abby. Abby was pretty much like an only child because you and Shree were basically gone.
I wasn't basically gone, I
You know,
was
you were
gone.
gone.
When I
Yeah.
met
And
Louise, I
right.
was on my
And
own.
Abby was very, very young. But she did tons of stuff with us. And I don't know if that's you know, I mean, I think it's important to have that, and even in California, where it's a huge, a huge society,
Mhm.
right? Even but in the South Bay, it was every bit like being in Florence because it was such a close knit community, and that community, the Collie Mayor community, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
the Torrance community was always doing everything together.
Right.
We didn't do a whole lot of stuff outside the community, but we did lots of stuff inside the community.
So when do you think that's going back to the question that I asked you a few minutes ago? When do you think that shifted? When did you know? Was there a noticeable shift
No,
in?
it crept up on us. I don't think there was a noticeable all of a sudden happened. I think it just slowly that portion, and I don't know if it's still that way down there. I don't know because but I know when we were there, we were at Stuffed Pizza
Well, no,
or we were
I'm talking more in generality.
okay.
Uh, when did the shift from neighbors checking in on neighbors to I don't even know who my neighbor is on my right or left of me? Do you feel that there was a pivot?
Oh, I know there was. I don't know when it happened, but like I said, even in a big city like Torrance, California, which is really LA County,
Right.
right? It's a suburb. Even that, well, we knew all of our neighbors around us, very close to all of our neighbors
Right,
around
but
us.
you also had children that were the age of that we were in school. We started at a, primary elementary school,
Right.
and with that, I was in Cub Scouts first, and
Yeah, but Greg and Angie didn't have kids our age, and Don and Lynn didn't have kids our
right.
age, and but we were all just right there. And frankly, I would say that they would help me out any way I asked them anytime.
And you don't think that exists in inner city and
I don't well, I don't know. I don't think it does,
underserviced
man.
communities?
I mean, it does in where I live now. I can go next door to Terry and Rose, and they'll help me and across the street they'll help me.
Right.
Um,
I think people in general help one another. I think I thought this in New York when I lived there 25 years ago. I think this when I visit New York City now. I thought about this when I was in Poland 2 years ago. I
right,
went to Poland and I had to go from Warsaw to Kielce, this really rural, small area of Poland.
right.
And I got on a train and I don't speak the language. And
People helped you,
thankfully, many different people tried to listen to my English and helped me in their broken English, and that's a big ask for someone to come to someone else's country and
right,
speak English and then be helped in English. So I think the world in general, I think there are more people that want to help when they see that something or someone needs help. I think that it's scary now because you don't know if you're being tricked, you don't know if you're being
right.
lured into something, and I don't really know how you decipher. I remember I remember watching my mom's dad, Grandpa Smith, stop more than once with us in the car and pick up a hitchhiker.
Oh, no, I did the same thing. I was gonna use an example. I used to stop, many times on the way between here and Springs and, help somebody with a flat tire or make a phone call, and same thing happened with Louise. W when she hit that deer, a guy pulled over and made sure that she was fine and called me and told me where she was at. But I also remember that a report, and this just happened a couple weeks ago. It happened a long time ago too. The
Mhm.
guy pulls over because he sees a woman in distress, on the side of the road. He gets out, and her boyfriend's hiding in the weeds. They hit him over the head and take his car.
Yeah.
So I think when incidents like that take place in this world, it makes you think more than once that hey, I definitely wouldn't do it with little kids in the car. I
No,
just wouldn't do
not
it.
anymore.
I'd call though. I'd,
Right.
I'd call and say,
Yeah.
hey,
I
there's something going on here. I think you better come and
yeah, well,
don't let.
that's the beauty of having a cell phone.
That's
You
right.
can just call.
Let's see back in the old
I
days. We could,
wanna I wanna circle back. We first started this conversation and we were talking about, this was before you knew which gender you were having and I was a firstborn.
right.
Uh, you said that all you cared about was that I was healthy.
First, you was healthy when you're born.
Right.
That's all I
And I
cared
think
about.
that that's what any parent cares about is that
Right.
their kid is going to be healthy. So I'm going to ask you the uncomfortable question of what happens when, because now we do have screenings and we do have things that make it um, almost to a certain percent of certainty, we know like a baby's going to be born healthy or not. And how do you feel? And what would you say to someone that finds out maybe they're going to have a baby that has very little chance of survival and or will be permanently brain damaged or permanently disabled, what advice?
You don't have to ask me that. You know the answer.
Well, I know the answer, but I'm curious to know how it plays out in the long run in terms of community and how are we helping? Well, give your answer first.
Well, obviously, you have the baby. You have the baby at all costs, and you do what you need to do to support and help and nurture that child, just like any other child.
So you're a middle class family and you have the husband and the wife are home and you find out you're going to have a baby that is going to be very much require a lot of medical care and procedure and time and will never really live a normal life. You say have the child. What happens when it's a single mom? She's already got 3 kids at home and she
Someone
doesn't
will
have a
help.
way or a mean to even
Someone will help. No, it seems to me like someone will help.
you.
I have a really good friend couple that has a, a this exact situation, and the child was born, and child had severe problems, and still does to this day. And the child's now maybe close to your age. I don't know, at least 30 something,
Okay.
and they've God bless them with the ability to take care of that young man,
Okay, so this
and
is
and they did, and I can't imagine life without him.
okay, and that's fine. I hear that. I'm gonna ask you to suspend because that's at least 30 years ago that that this happened
Yeah,
to if
maybe
you're my
more,
age.
maybe more.
I'm talking in 2026 when you have 3 kids already at home that you're already on WIC and you're already on public assistance, and the Conservative Party is cutting Medicare and they're taking away all of these things.
Medicare's not being cut, but that's all right. Go ahead.
There are certain things that have been cut from Medicare, for sure.
Not that I know of, but I'm
Okay,
on it.
but you're not on it.
I am on
But
it.
not in the way that people
All
in the
right.
low income okay.
All right.
So,
I still
what
say have the child, no matter what, have the
and
child.
but
Have the
what
child,
comes
put up for
after that
adoption.
is
Put
my
it up for
question.
adoption, why, if you have to. But
How
let's hope.
do you have the figures on how
But if
many
you get to ask that question, I get to ask you a question.
okay.
If she's got 3 kids, she's on WIC, why in the world did you get pregnant again?
What do you when you say things like that, I think our audience thinks, "Wow, he's either completely ignorant
I'm not completely ignorant. It's a
or just
legitimate
always
question.
thinks it's the woman's fault that she gets pregnant."
It isn't.
Where's the
It,
man's
well,
responsibility?
it's
What if
just
she was raped?
well, that's different.
How is it
That's
different?
different because
Why is it different? If
then it's not her responsibility at all. That's how it's different. It's not her responsibility at all.
it's
It,
Dad, I think that you
then
and
a
you've
whole
said this in this on
and a
this
whole other
podcast more than
decision
once.
and a whole other decision has to be made.
Okay, but you've said this on this podcast more than once.
Mhm.
You've said you grew up in an idyllic lifestyle.
I did.
You had everything that you needed. You needed for nothing. Your friends, you said it today again in the car picking me up from the airport that you had friends from all the way from grade school through high school that are still friends today. This is not you are a unique
Very,
you are a
I'm
unique
very unique.
unicorn in a world that doesn't exist anymore, but you still live in this fantasy idea that this world exists.
I don't think it's a fantasy.
When
I
you
see it
say
happening every day.
when you say why if she's already on public aid and and has 3 kids at home, why did she have another baby? You automatically assume all the burden on the woman. Do you
Okay.
hear when you do that?
Yeah, no, that maybe that's unfair, but the fact remains that that's one option that could have kept that from happening,
Which
and it's a
is
viable
one option.
to make sure that you're on birth control.
Okay, so great. So birth control for the people that can afford and or know about birth control.
You
We're
can
also
you can walk into any place, any clinic.
were you gonna say Planned Parenthood? Because those are gone.
No, any clinic. You can walk into any clinic.
What's a clinic? This goes back to the Planned Parenthood conversation where you said that the Planned Parenthoods are all strategically put into lower income and Black communities, done intentionally by the left to force people to have
Not
abortions.
the left.
And
It was
I
by
said,
Margaret
okay,
Sanger.
and I said that maybe those clinics and those Planned Parenthoods are in communities where they're at because wealthy people have access to primary care physicians and unhoused and
A
or
and that's that
underserviced homes.
that could be a true statement, but there can be 2 truths. That could be where it's at now,
I agree with you. Can we
but
just stop
but
there? Wait, because this is a win. I agree that two things can exist.
right.
I think that the
See,
Planned Parenthood were in communities where they needed access, and for whatever reason, maybe that
helped out. Maybe she helped without even knowing she helped.
I
But
don't know.
but the fact is, that wasn't the original intention that she had. So,
I
that's
mean,
all I'm saying.
according to your research,
Right.
that you're assuming a lot. There's a lot of blanks in the research, but
I don't think I am, but that's okay.
I know, but and we can look at that
I
deeper.
guess the bottom line is still, Matt, you're not gonna get me to say, no matter what, you know, there's no reason to not have the baby. Okay, that's just my personal belief.
But and do you think that it would change if you were a woman?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like hypotheticals like that. I have no idea what that feels like. I have no idea what they go
Okay,
through
so
or what they're thinking.
right. So you have no idea what a woman goes through or what they're thinking, but you feel like you have control over their autonomy when it's you're deciding whether or not they should be forced to have a kid that they know is going to be born either completely brain dead or severely disabled. Now
Well,
all of a sudden you're going to imagine yourself as a
well,
woman
first of all,
decide.
they're not forced. They're not forced to at all.
You keep saying that, Ted, but there are states where they are right now. I'm
The
sorry to
re-
tell you that. Look at Kansas. Look at Texas. You should go and look at those case studies.
they still have abortions in Texas and Kansas going on
If a
all the time.
doctor in Kansas or Texas gives an abortion, they could be sued right now.
I'll bet they can if it was for a rape, incest, or what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. We will have to look into that when we have
but
when
I
we
know
go deeper on
Colorado's not, because Colorado's all the way up to term. So I know that's not the case.
Colorado's all the way up to term if it's like emergency, like Cherie. Like when my sister was when she something was going wrong, and at the last minute they said it might be you or the baby, and Cherie signed off with you and said save Kellen, right?
Yep,
But
she said, have
but
the baby.
but what if the family decides they already have 3 kids at home and the husband's like, no, you need to help me with these 3 babies under
Matt,
5.
I'm not going to sit and talk about hypothetical.
But everything's
There's re- no,
hypothetical.
there's reasons that things happen, and I believe my personal opinion and is that and by the way, Louise is a woman, and she would side with me 100%,
Right.
and so would her
You
sister
just said
Carla,
something,
Patty, and
your personal opinion, which is great because we live in a country where you
I
get
can
to have your
express that.
opinion.
And you're asking me
However,
that.
now your opinion and people's opinion like yours is now being legislated as a law, which
What's the law? What was the law that was legislated?
well, it was a reversal of something that stood for 50 years in this country.
And what was that reversal of?
The reversal of Roe versus Wade.
Yeah, and all it did was turn everything back to the states. That's
Okay.
all it did.
But
So now the states are deciding.
right, but what you're not listening is, and where you refuse to budge at all, is if you're living in like, let's say someone grew up in this town where
Okay.
we're at, and they don't have the means to get out, but this state decides, well, you don't get the option that is provided federally. You would have to go to Wyoming for that option, and they have no means to get there. Do you understand that you are now legislating someone that lives in a free country? You're saying because you live in this state, because the federal government has shoved it back down on the states, the federal government isn't going to protect you anymore. Now, sucks for you because you were born in this rural town and you can't get out. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why it's hard for me. How do you get out? How do you get out if you can't? If you,
I don't see the need to get out, because I think there's still, in every state of the union, there's still doctors that, in that case that we're talking about, would allow you to have an abortion as long as you had it before 12 weeks. Because there's no state that I know of that has abolished it before 12 weeks that I know of.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay, so we're gonna this will continue to be tabled time and again until we get
Yeah,
female.
I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm not up on all 50 states.
Yeah,
I just know the one I live in. I know the one you live in, and I know what they.
no, I mean you pretty much answered what I was going for. I'm waiting for someone on the right, especially a Christian who is actually a Christian, not someone who calls himself a Christian, but
Right.
someone like you, who I think really does live the Christian value and standard, and does end with love. And you always end this podcast with love. I'm waiting for someone like you to give me an answer to the question, which is we keep forcing people to do things and they keep saying, we don't have the money, we don't have the, and regardless of how they got pregnant, the why of how they got pregnant is less important than what happens for the next 18 years after we force them to have this kid. And no one wants to take care of it, and no one wants to help them, and no one wants to give them public aid, but we want to force them to have a baby. It doesn't
I
make
don't think
sense.
we force them to have a baby. That
Well, we
especially if the
do.
baby,
If they're
especially if the
pregnant and they
baby.
don't want the baby and they can't afford the
Well,
baby, they're being
that's
forced to have the
now you're
baby.
talking something totally different. Now I would come against it because you're not talking about a child that could be born unhealthy or handicapped in some way. Now you're talking about a completely
Disabled, yeah.
normal child.
No, I know. Yeah, so I did that intentionally. But the other funny thing is, notice neither you or I or anyone that I know of, no one's really having the conversation of, well, then let's look at it from the other end. You say, okay, well, there's always adoption. Do you know what the adoption process in this country is like? It's rigged. It's rigged for people that have hundreds of thousands of dollars. No one ever talks about this. I'm going to talk about it. My ex and I, we tried to adopt a kid. Um, we did I lose you? We lost you. I don't know where we lost you, and I've never edited this podcast. So to our listening audience, we had a moment where
Dad went dark.
God went dark. We lost about 2.5 minutes, but I
Yeah,
don't know what
but
that's gonna
it
look
comes
like
up.
on the other
It's
end.
showing 38 minutes, so we're back in the same.
Well, maybe we kept recording and there was a lot of dead air that I'm just gonna have to cut, and this will be the first time that I've cut one of our podcasts, which I really don't like. But getting back into it,
Okay, where were we?
the question that I asked, and something that we don't talk about, or at least I don't hear people talking about it, is the adoption process in this country.
Right.
If we're going to encourage women to feel comfortable, oh, for have this baby, carry it to term, and then adopt it, well, they should know what they're getting into. Adoption in this country is a racket. I mean, adoption agencies charge fee upon fee upon fee. They act like they're there to help, and really they're there to find the highest bidder for a baby. Essentially, is what I was
I don't
faced.
have any experience with it. I don't know. Did you go through a Christian adoption
Well, a
agency?
Christian adoption agency, depending on which Christian agency, the Catholic Church wouldn't because we were a gay couple, so they wouldn't help place a
Right.
baby. So I don't know how Christianly that is either. I mean, I mean, this is all about 10 years ago that I was going through this
I
process.
remember.
So I don't know if things have evolved since then. I'm speaking on, 2015 timeline, but I was appalled that the Catholic, what is it called? The Catholic,
Very.
there's a name for their
Yeah, the
organization, the
organization.
Catholic. They like, but anyway, it's the part of the Catholic Church that helps place
Right.
and foster children and get them. And so I'm thinking, this is so interesting. You would rather have kids stay in foster care or in kind of sketchy housing rather
Right.
than place them in a loving family. And so there was that side. And then when you go the private route, there are all these different agencies that say, "Oh yeah, and it can happen overnight." And then on top of that, when you live in a state like California, the birth parents have a year to change their mind. The extended family has time involved, and so there are all of these different checks and balances. It's almost
I
as if
can't
we
speak to
don't
adoption.
want kids
Right.
to be adopted.
That would be sad.
And
That would
we
be
should
sad.
look at the numbers. We should have someone on who knows, more about this because I just remember thinking there are so many kids that need homes and
Yep.
so few of them get placed in homes and then they age out or they get to an age where people aren't looking for a 7-year-old, which is sad. And I don't think anyone has an answer for that on the right that I hear. I mean, have the force them
can't.
to have the baby. Force like you should have the baby, have
There's
the
no
baby.
force to have the
But
baby.
there is forcing. You don't give another option. What is the other option?
There, it seems the abortion rate has not gone down any. I'll tell you that.
How do you know?
Look it up. Look it up. What it was for last year.
And those are based on which numbers? I mean, who's reporting that?
Just Google it. I mean, you guys, your generation loves Google.
No, remember on this show we like facts that can be
I
actually
don't know.
sourced. Google is not a source.
Everything I've ever heard, Roe v. Wade did not affect the abortion rate whatsoever. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I've not fact checked it.
It seems strange that
I should say the repeal of Roe v. Wade.
Okay. All right, let's leave that for now. What if we talked about The time that you thought and or noticed that I might be different than the other boys.
Yeah, oh, I'll never forget it.
Mm,
You were
yeah.
probably at most 2, 3 years old. You could walk pretty good, so you're probably about 3 years old, and you were twirling a baton in the parade walking down Main Street.
Yeah.
Eh, yeah, you wanted to be a baton twirler.
Okay. And what did you think?
I thought it was cute.
Yeah. It didn't make you think, "Oh, I need to get that baton out of his hand?"
No, no, why?
Okay. No, I'm just curious. I'm gonna do some rapid fire.
I thought maybe you were a drum major.
Okay, so,
I don't really remember thinking negatively about
well,
it.
did you think I was different? Or
I mean, most little boys did twirl batons, but
I mean, at that moment you thought, "Well, he's not gonna be like me. I didn't twirl a baton."
exactly.
But did you think
I wouldn't say different.
okay.
I just say, like you just said, well, he's not exactly like me.
And then kind of continue down that line. What were there were other indicators or other signs or no?
No, not really, because you were just more reserved than a lot of boys were.
Okay.
I mean, your sister was tougher than you
In terms of
all the way around,
what do you mean reacting?
physically and reacting and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she wasn't physically because we learned that, or she rather learned that the hard way.
Right. But way later in life.
Okay.
Well, you were talking about when you're little.
No, but even when I was little, I mean, I kind of
Well, that one time we were at the bowling alley and this little boy was picking on you, and being the type of mindset you had, you didn't cause any trouble. You got up and you moved, and he came and sat next to you and was picking on you again. And you got up and you moved, and he came and sat by you and was picking on you again. And your sister saw the whole thing, and she walked up to him and she goes, "If you don't leave my brother alone, I'm going to punch you in the nose." And the little boy left.
right. But that right there, that's an assumption that Cherie was stronger than I was. I would argue that
Well, maybe not physically.
removing yourself from a circumstance would be the moral
Yeah,
high ground.
right. That could be, but her mindset was,
Fight back.
I'm a back.
Right. I think we pick our battles, and I think you taught me that. Uh, did anyone question your parenting?
Oh, I'm sure. Um, Grandmas and grandpas never would question it. They would just say, "Why don't you try it this way?" or something like that. They never were. Yeah, they never were.
I
And obviously, if we asked,
right.
they'd give us advice, but they weren't very. Neither one of them, Grandma and Grandpa Smith or Grandma and Grandpa Schaefer, were invasive at all.
No.
They believed in, what I said went, what your mom said went.
Yes.
They didn't contradict it.
I was thinking more society. I'm thinking like, I remember being in second or third grade, and I remember wanting a Cabbage Patch doll, and you and mom bought me and Shri Cabbage Patch dolls, and the I just wonder, when I was in public, like with like, because I know the doll had a stroller, and I remember like carting it around, like pushing the doll. I wonder if parents ever said, why are you letting your little boy
No, no
push
one
a
ever
doll?
said, no one ever said nothing like that to me.
I wonder if parents do that now. I mean,
I don't know.
when they see all the things that they see, I wonder how it's different, and how that plays into the somewhere between when I was in high school and now, so the late mid-90s to now, there's been this complete reimagining of personality and flair, if you want to call it flair, or identity. And I'm not talking about identity in the terms of like, male, female, or non-binary. I'm talking like people are more inclined to dress their style and their personality regardless of where they're at and who they're around now than they were when I was
Oh,
growing
by
up.
far, yeah.
And I remember that slowly changing, but I think back to like, I mean, there were times I was thinking about this the other day when we were talking about the co-rec dances that would happen in the South Bay area,
Yeah.
where basically they would bring all of the all of the middle schools in the South Bay, which is the Redondo Beach, Torrance, Walteria.
I think most of it was Torrance Rec Center.
Yeah. So
I think it was more Torrance than
okay,
anything.
so in the community that I grew up in the South Bay, they would bring all the middle school kids together, and we would all dance on Friday, like it was a big school dance. And I
Yeah, it was cool. They had really good chaperones, and we would drop you off, and you guys would have a blast, and there was never I don't ever remember ever an incident happening there.
no, not an incident, but I definitely remember getting picked on in the line, waiting in line and thinking. And I talked about this, and I don't know if I talked about it on the podcast, but one of the times there was a guy in the line, and he was like, "Are you a girl or a boy?" And I was wearing, obviously, well, not obviously, but I was wearing like Z Cavaricci pants and a button down shirt, and Shri was with me, and Shri got so offended, and I thought, I'm thinking now, looking back at seventh grade or eighth grade Matthew,
Right.
and thinking, if that happened now, the kid asking me that question would be bullied for asking the question.
Right.
But then I got bullied by those kids and had to form an exterior that allowed for people to say mean things. I'm wondering if we've lost that.
Lost
The ability to no, bullying still exists, sadly.
no.
But how we deal with bullying, I feel like it's getting. I don't think we're creating a society that's more at ease standing up to the bully. I think we're creating, or what it feels like we're creating, is a society that is going to lean into the victimhood of being bullied.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
How do you think we got there?
I don't know. Well, I do know litigation. Litigation in my day, if that would have happened in line, he would have got punched in the nose, and then we would have saw who was right and who was wrong.
Well, I don't know that
No,
punching
but
someone in the nose is
I'm
really.
telling you the facts of the matter.
Well,
That's how we handle
it
bullies.
might be
When I
the
was
fact,
born,
but I don't think it's right.
well, I don't know if you're asking me if it's right or wrong. I can't answer that. What I can tell you is that's how it was handled. And guess what? It stopped being that way. Bullies usually got
But that doesn't really work for the First Amendment, though,
well
because someone should be able to say whatever they want, regardless of retribution of being hit.
then you've answered your question. You know where we're at now.
So,
If you believe that, then
but which do you believe? Because I believe that you believe in the First Amendment.
I believe in the First Amendment. But
So
if
you think it's okay that.
confront me face to face
Uh-huh.
and get in my face,
Uh-huh.
chances are you're going to get poked in the nose.
But that's against what we're saying, and so then you become just as
No, I'm not
hypocritical as
talking about.
the Luigi
I'm not talking about
Mangione
having
people.
a good conversation with someone. I'm talking about getting in your
It
face.
doesn't,
and
Dad.
calling you names.
I'm saying, why does it matter if we live in a country where words are free
Right.
and we should be able to say whatever we want,
Right.
however we want, minus fire in a movie theater?
Right.
Then why is it okay for someone to hit when the word is
It's not.
more
You'll go
piercing?
to jail.
Right.
It's not okay. But then you weigh the fact. Was it worth it or was it not worth it?
Was
It's
going
still
to
against the
jail?
law. Yeah. It's still. I mean, that's just
So you're saying it's a yes and. Yes, I think that society got a little weaker when we started litigating everything based on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you should be able to say whatever you want in a free country.
Except yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe that's true. But do you think it's right to, if I see someone who I think is obviously different than me and against me, to go up and badmouth them and make them feel bad? Do you think that's right?
Well, no, I don't think that's right. I think that
I've
people,
got the right to do it.
right, but I
There should be repercussion if I do that.
if you do what?
Bully someone verbally.
I would bully them back verbally, like I do.
Okay.
I mean, I fight fire with fire, and by the way, you can't go to jail for bullying someone back with words.
Well, I don't know.
Well, I
don't-
guess it
I don't
depends. It
know.
depends on if it's a hate type of a.
Oh well, wait.
attack.
They're all words. They're all just words. If
Well-
no one's hit nobody. Why do you determine what's hateful and what's not hateful?
Well, I think the difference is if you say something that's threatening and becomes derogatory towards, if they're a woman and you say I hate all women, you are probably that's a hate crime.
Okay.
You no? Do you disagree?
Well, yeah, nowadays, yes, that would be exactly that.
Okay.
If the woman slapped your face and then her boyfriend beat your butt, guess what? You won't say that again next time.
Right. But I might go after the boyfriend for physically assaulting me,
Yeah, of course.
right?
But were you right in verbally abusing her?
I don't think anyone's right in that scenario.
Okay, then. It's all depends on where you. You're asking me if our society's better because of it. I'd say no, it's not better. I think my society, back my culture, was better the way we were.
No, I'm not asking if you think society's better or worse because of it. I'm asking really, what would you do different? How would you manage it different? If because how do you let the 2 exist? If you think that words should be able to be said, but then you yourself are saying to me, in front of me, that if someone got in your face, you'd probably pop them.
But that's in my face. I mean, right here,
Okay,
right in my face, spitting on me.
okay,
I can smell their
but how
breath.
is that different than
Me and you sitting across like this and having a disagreement. No, I wouldn't.
no, right, I agree, but where do you draw the line? How is it like someone like Luigi.
I guess an aggressive posture. If you're going to walk up on somebody,
Mhm,
and it happens all the time. The police even stop you. Do not walk up on me. You can
right,
sit there and talk all you want and do what you want, but don't walk up on me.
okay,
If you make an aggressive posture, I can hear you just fine from 5 or 6 feet away.
right,
But if you walk up, you're making an aggressive posture towards me. You've already, I think, invaded what,
but you haven't broken a law.
and that's might be a problem. But then again, I weigh the facts. Was it worth it?
I'm
Me
just
getting
thinking of all these protesters that are either pro Hamas or, anti-Israel, that are getting up and they're baiting people,
Yeah,
in their face.
I think that's wrong. I think you should not be. I think that what happened to 6 feet apart during COVID. I don't want you in my space, man.
Oh,
What
no,
happened to
not
it?
6 feet apart.
I mean, if you're going to get technical about assaulting someone, I'll give you a prime example: spitting.
Right.
And I saw it more than once, and someone used to do it when we played basketball in L.A. And now I if you come and spit
Well,
in my
that's
face,
body contact. I
that's
mean,
right,
right,
it's physical contact,
right, and
yeah,
and disgusting
and disgusting on
and
top of it all.
disrespectful, all of the above.
All
Yeah, you're infringing on that person's personal privacy and
But
rights.
yet, if I called him a derogatory comment,
That's I mean, that is the country we live in, and
yeah,
this is the part that I think people on the right and the left are forgetting.
all right,
When it serves them, they love it. When it doesn't serve them any longer, they
right.
don't love it. I okay, have we become more accepting as a society?
I, I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind is that we've become softer. I believe we've become softer, and I don't think it's helped us.
So, is that a yes? We've
I
become
would
more
not be
accepting?
derogatory towards anyone, and you've seen that. I would not ever go be derogatory towards a woman or towards a person that's not like me in any way.
Right?
Whether it's race, creed, color, it doesn't matter. I would not be
Religion,
derogatory.
opinion.
Religion, that's right. I would not be derogatory towards them, and I would expect they do the same to me.
Okay.
When that doesn't happen, and they're doing something to me that I would not do to them, I have the right in my mind to defend myself to whatever degree I need to defend
Have you
myself.
had to do that?
Yeah. No.
Yes
Yes.
or no?
Yeah. I mean, as far as words, no, it's always been a physical contact.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
like pushed. If someone shoves you,
okay. Right.
which, yeah. But I think we become
Well, it's so interesting because I had this question down. Have we become a more accepting culture? And what's so funny is in words we've become more accepting, but in our reaction, I think we've become more aggressive. I think that someone shooting a CEO point blank in a public space 20 years ago would have been you would have thought that that person was psychologically messed up or
right.
mentally, emotionally, whatever. And now there are people cheering for that. And these are the same people that want to be labeled with soft gloves.
Right.
So it's very confusing to me. And I'm talking as someone who aligns myself far more with the people left of center than right of center in terms
No,
of
I know you
social
do.
and cultural.
I know you do.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy line to draw that you can say things about people that are so hurtful and they don't have the right to, retaliate in any way. I don't know.
yeah,
It'd be
that's
like being anti-Semitic, saying,
well,
"Oh,
yeah, no, I find it's never lost on me when someone is so anti-Israel or anti the Jewish people and so ready to embrace a radical Islamist who, in some parts of this country, there are calls to prayer 5 times a day.
right."
But if a Catholic church rings a bell, like they're all child predators, So it is confusing. I think there are
I mean,
people
it's
on
not
the left.
confusing, it's wrong, and
Well,
I don't know how I mean, we're getting there, and I don't know how we got there, and this is one area that me and you agree
no,
wholeheartedly.
I don't, but I won't call it wrong. I will call them confused because I don't know right or wrong. Who gets to decide who's right or who's wrong? What I would say is this: why would you support one faith and not another?
Right.
If you're gonna start supporting religion, if you're gonna
But well, our country, you can have whatever
right.
religion you
Well,
want.
we know that. Okay, let me get into. We're running out of time, and I want to get a little rapid fire. Have we become too quick to label kids specifically, but just labels in general? But have we become too quick to label kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yes.
That's it's
Let kids be kids, for God's sake.
yeah. I think that we're seeing that. Well, I know we're seeing that in like Sweden and Belgium and in countries where they were really quick to lean into gender affirming care, and then they've gone and they've completely
Gone the opposite
gone
direction.
the opposite direction until you're 18. I'm not saying that they don't
Yeah, then
believe
you can do what you want.
right, but also and many people have come out and people that have transitioned and then detransitioned, they thought, well, I was just a tomboy, I was a lesbian or a tomboy or this, that. You hear these stories, but then there are people that know what they
Right.
are, and so I think it's case by case, but I think in general, I think we as a society in this country are really quick to label someone as smart or not, or talented or not, creative or not, attractive or not. It's like it's a black or a white, and we want to put that label on them as soon as possible and start pushing them in that direction.
Right.
Um, how much should parents encourage versus simply observe?
Well, I think you have to encourage your kids to
But
do
I
it.
mean, what's the difference between encouragement and observation? If you know that if you knew, like, give me an example of a time in your life when you knew that I was making the wrong choice, but rather than telling me that I was making the wrong choice, you just watched me and then you were there for me. I mean, I know I don't really make a lot of poor choices, so
I can't right off the bat think of one. You know, you made. You know,
I was perfect.
no, you weren't perfect.
You heard it right here, folks.
I didn't. You know, when we got back to the time that you came out and told me everything,
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't say that you're making a wrong choice, but I knew that you chose a hard path,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And we talked about that.
Yeah. We talked about the fact that it doesn't feel like a choice too, and that's
Right.
what's so interesting going all the way back to
Yeah. So how can I label that a
well,
choice?
right.
You don't think it's a choice.
Well, and also, you know, what was it in 3-year-old Matthew that wanted to twirl a baton? You know,
I can't answer.
it wasn't like I was actively making choices back then that were gonna serve my sexual orientation or gender.
Oh, yeah, I thought about having you changed right then and there.
You wanted to put me in pigtails?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well
No, I didn't, and probably a good thing. I mean, you know, like we always said, when same thing with a tattoo.
Mhm.
You were not allowed to have tattoos until you turned 18,
Yeah, and then I went and got a tattoo.
and then you went and got a tattoo, and that's fine. That's
Right.
your choice. You're adult.
Yeah.
You make adult decisions. But until 18, I have to do my best to make choices for you.
Yeah,
I don't know that you made a lot of bad choices.
I know, I
I
think
mean, you had choices that had some real impact on me. You know, when you brought me the Orange County Performing Arts paperwork already filled out and turned in, and you were accepted, and I have to come up with the money to pay for it.
yeah,
That's okay.
but that was a great choice. It led to a career in the performing arts.
It was a great choice, and also you were motivated, and that's how you always were. When you made the choice to stay at the Margarita Inn in Chicago, as opposed to the YMCA, that was a good choice, but it
You.
impacted me.
It impacted your American
checkbook.
Express.
My
All right. We're out of time, but before we go, is there one piece of advice that you'd like to share to specifically dads out there that might be struggling with their son or daughter about a choice that they feel like their kid has made that maybe they don't think is the best choice, but they love their child?
Just love them. Continue to love them. I mean, that's just so simple. It's not even funny.
And maybe
no matter what choices you made or what decisions you made that I disagreed with, I always loved you, and I tried to love you through them.
that's perfect. We'll end on that, Dad. I love you too, and I'm thankful for you, and I do think you supported all of my choices, even the ones that probably you were embarrassed by. Thank you so much to our listening audience. We hope that you'll tune in next time to Discussions with Dad, and until then, have a beautiful week. Love you, Dad.
Love you too.